So for, I would say a few months to a year, I was just posting, creating, and then Chick-fil-A actually reached out to me at Hicksville and asked if I wanted to set up a collaboration. And I didn't know what a collaboration was. I had all these
Wow.
questions. So I called my sister. I said, we're going to Chick-fil-A for lunch today. And I think it's free, question mark. So we went, they brought out all this stuff.
Yeah, kid. Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, aka the Handsome Homebuyer. Obviously, you have a house you want to sell. I want to buy it. 516-777 sold. A lot of great things happening in the real estate world. We're currently buying 4 houses a week, on the way to doing between 8 to 12 houses a week. So once again, if you have any kind of property on Long Island or in the 5 boroughs, we're quick, we're easy, we're a good time. 516-777 sold. We want to buy it. Now, I always make the joke that I put out a ton of educational real estate content, 60 seconds on, follow these three things to financial freedom, and nobody ever watches it. 2 people, 3 people, maybe 300 people. Recently, I've been putting out these food review videos just to help out small business and to have a good time. And because obviously I'm half Jewish and half Italian, so obviously that means that I eat all the time. And these videos have literally taken off, blown up. And the most important part about it is not really the views for me, but the views for the small businesses. And these places have really turned their business around. La Valletta in Farmingdale. There was Te Quiero Mucho in the taco place up in Brentwood. Their business has literally doubled, tripled, in some places 10x, which is very, very cool and very rewarding to me because they have amazing food. And then sometimes people just don't know how to market. And it's just great to see how one video can literally change anybody's life. So speaking of that, we have an amazing guest on today, Cynthia DeFranco. She is the owner operator of Long Island Foodies. It's an Instagram page. I believe it's on, TikTok and a number of different platforms, but she is essentially going around Long Island doing what I'm doing at scale and showcasing and letting Long Islanders know what is the best food across Long Island. So here she is. Without further ado, we're going to chop it up. Boom. Cynthia.
Hello.
Great to have you. Thanks. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, of course.
So essentially, you have probably 95% of everybody, man, woman, and child's dream job. You you essentially get to go around, eat delicious food, take videos, talk about it, and I mean, what could possibly be better?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's definitely, I've always loved eating, loved food. And then it just kind of became something I could do, you know, 3 or 4 nights a week, if I wanted to even more than that. But, a lot of times I have leftovers and I hate wasting. So just trying to eat as much as I can and definitely making the most of it. So it's been great.
So I guess how did the whole thing start? Right?
So, really, it was just going out to eat all the time. My dad didn't cook, so we would go out to eat whenever we were with him. So, I would just post either on Snapchat or on my own Instagram story, and people kept saying, you should start your own food account. And this was back, 6 or 7 years ago when food accounts weren't really as big and they weren't really an advertising tool. And I said, you know what, I might as well. I'll clean up my camera roll. So for, I would say a few months to a year, I was just posting, creating, this account. And then Chick-fil-A actually reached out to me at Hicksville and asked if I wanted to set up a collaboration. And I didn't know what a collaboration was. I had all these
Wow.
questions. So I called my sister. I said, we're going to Chick-fil-A for lunch today. And I think it's free, question mark. So we went, they brought out all this stuff. They just started
Wow.
like the mac and cheese. They brought out the new at the time, like things that they were just kind of promoting. And from there, it just kind of spun out. And, we didn't even really know the deal entirely, just, kind of as we went, figuring it out. And then it became something numerous restaurants were reaching out to me a week. I'm scheduled now, it just really took off. So it just started for me loving food and posting it.
Wow. So just out of curiosity, because I think there's a lot of people that are out there that would love to try and do something like this. And
Mhm.
I think it's people get in their own head. And I think it's actually in certain cases a lot easier than people think. You just have to have the courage you have to be consistent and you have to have the
Right.
courage to basically put yourself on camera. But if all you do is get started, a lot of times,
Mhm.
amazing things can happen. So I'm curious to know
Right.
at that point, how many followers you had. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, before an operation like Chick-fil-A would reach out or somebody like that, you have to have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah, no, I mean, at that point, it was definitely below 10. I would say maybe 6 to 8,000 followers at that point. So it was, it's really just all timing, if Chick-fil-A just came to Hicksville to Long Island trying to promote themselves, and it was a great way for them, and through Instagram, as we know, all social media, it really works well for advertising now. And in terms of for the company, it's a great deal too, because it's, food in exchange for the advertisement, which is what they're, trying to do anyway. So you really don't have to start out with that huge underlying base. Mine has just steadily grown over the past, 6, 7 years. And, obviously the more you have, maybe the more restaurants that will reach out. But
Mm.
even, if I'm invited to these foodie influencer collaboration dinners, there's other accounts that are, under 10,000, which is totally fine. They're just starting
Mm.
out. It's just getting the word out.
So, what is your selection process like? Are you actively reaching out to companies to work with them? Are they just coming to you? How does this whole thing kind of come together?
Yeah, so I would say like maybe 85 to 90% of the time they reach out to me, and that other 10 to 15 I'll reach out occasionally. So that's really if I want to go somewhere and I really, want to hopefully, get there and have the experience through the food account.
Mm.
But if not, usually sometimes restaurants will reach out, or even home businesses too. A lot of times, like a lot of home bakeries and things, to promote them. And it's just great because it's like, promoting the small, business side of it, as well as, chain restaurants, but mostly they're all on Long Island. They're not, a lot of them are just like mom and pop type shops, or a lot of places will reach out to me and say, oh, so and so from this restaurant mentioned to me that you came and we wanted to set something up. A lot of places invite me back numerous times, which is fantastic because it's showing it really is working for them and they're getting people in from the account. So it's a lot of, mostly them reaching out, but also now seeing, the results that come from the original visit or the original post.
Yeah, now again, I started doing these for fun, not even necessarily in the restaurant. I would just be in my studio and I would just talk about it. It started with this Italian restaurant called La Valletta in Farmingdale, which I
Mhm.
love the food. I would go there and there'd be like two or three people there. And I'm like, I don't understand why nobody's here. So I just
Right.
made a video saying, hey, this is like the most underrated restaurant, Italian food on Long Island. The thing went viral, got like 500,000 views. And the next time I went back there in a month, it was completely packed and has been packed ever since.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah.
just very, very cool. Like that was an amazing thing, a real heartwarming thing. What you do for restaurants and mom and pop shops every week is got to be a very rewarding thing.
Yeah, definitely. And especially like during COVID and right coming out of COVID, that shutdown, a lot of places were reaching out. A lot of places, thanking me so much. And just, when I got into it, not realizing it would be this huge, giving back, situation and collaboration. But it really, became that, and realizing as I was helping out all these businesses, trying to schedule in as many as possible who, really benefit. And even, now owners saying, thank you so much. We need you, it really feels good. So, and it came out of a passion.
So, what I think something else that really intimidates a lot of people is, maybe certain people aren't very tech savvy or they don't really know how to edit. Talk about the production process and what goes into actually, filming, editing, and putting these things together. Are you just using your phone? Are you using editing software? How much time does it take? Kind of bring me through that.
Yeah, I mean, I just use my phone. So a lot of it's funny when I go to food influencer dinners and things, they all come with lights and these elaborate things, and I'm just there with my phone and my flash, and everyone's like, "Why don't you have a light?" And I'm like, I didn't really ever think of it or see the need for it because I've just been fine without it.
Mm.
Not downplaying the lights, but just I just go with my phone. But in terms of editing the content and things, I like doing it, like putting together these reels. So I get all my videos, I get a ton, kind of go through them. But I usually post the next day after visiting a restaurant. Like that'll be their initial post because I like them to see immediate results from it.
Mhm.
And then I'll do a follow up the next week or so. But it really, doesn't take too long. I, put the music on it. I try and find, a caption and music that matches the food somewhat. So, it's not a lengthy process. It took some getting used to, like even watching some of my original videos and seeing how they've adapted from them. You kind of, it's funny, it's just kind of a learning process. And, a video I thought looked great. Now I'm like, why would I do it from this angle? And just, you learn what you would want to see, how you would want your food presented, and kind of, what your viewers are really engaging with. And that's how I've just been editing my videos and, including a little bit of everything I get, and just kind of thinking, if I was the viewer, what would I like to see? And that's how I put my videos together.
So I've spoken to like different types of influencers, and obviously social media really consumes everybody. I recently went out and got this little thing called the block, so that I tap my phone to it and it shuts my social
Mhm.
media off until I touch it again, because I
Yeah.
feel like we're just all so addicted to it. But
Yeah.
a lot of influencers, they live on the phone when it comes to making content or videos. They're always searching trends, trending sounds, all different things. Like, how in the social media black hole are you constantly looking to see like how the algorithm is changing? Do you kind of have to be obsessed on that level to get the traction that you have, or are you just really having fun with it and letting it rip?
Yeah, I just really, I mean, when I say I started this for fun and loving food, honestly, that's how I go with it and have run with it. Granted, I want to see the most for the business. So I analyze my own data, like on the Instagram end. Also, things like times of day that I post, I try to keep that into effect or into account. Certain days of the week, when I post, like every restaurant gets, you know, whatever the next day is. But also, like if it's a breakfast place, I'll post it on a Sunday or something, figuring that would be more engagement. But I'm really not looking into any deeper than that beyond Instagram's realm. So like I'll look at my charts, like where the most viewers are, which kind of polls people are engaging with more. But I'm really going off of based on what people would want to see and what the business wants to promote. And then, kind of running with that. And it's, my account, my style. Like I know a lot of influencers include themselves in it. I don't really that much. I'm more into the food than showing myself eating the food. So that's just kind of my style, and putting the music to it, that's very me. And people say when they read the captions, they hear me speaking them, which is
Mhm.
good too. So it's gained the following it has. And people always say, switch it up, include yourself in the videos. I'm like, you know what, there are other accounts that do that. For now, I'm just kind of, doing my own thing. It's been taken off. So
Yeah, that actually brings me into my next question about style, because there's a lot of people out there who, I mean, I don't know if you think you are or not, but you are natural on camera. Just this conversation is, very
oh,
flows
thank
very
you.
easily. Certain podcasts, it's not as easy. It's like it's pulling teeth. So, but there's a lot of people out there who are like, hey, you know what? I'd love to do this. I'd love to create content. I'd love to, help businesses and help people, but I really don't want to be seen. I don't want to be talking. I don't like the way I look on camera, whatever it might be. So, how did your kind of style develop? And do you feel that you don't necessarily have to be front and center talking? It could just be music. The food can just speak for itself. Talk about kind of how that process of how your style came
Yeah.
together.
So, first it was pictures. Reels weren't as big as they were on Instagram. Then I kind of started seeing videos with music in the background or like even commercials. If you hear a catchy song, you're immediately caught into it. And that's, how I am at least drawn to food or different advertisements by the music that's playing. So I started doing that. Then I feel like the last step now has been more like people, like seeing faces and things, but I incorporate a lot of like human interaction. So if it's polls or scoops or things like that, because people want to see how you're interacting with the food. I just feel like my biggest thing, I really love food. And it's like if I go to an account and I want to see what their food is, I'm like, oh, okay, come on, I don't want to see this person. I'm going to skip through. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
skip and get to the food. So that's just kind of how my style is. I view it how I would want to look at it. Um, and like I said, obviously accounts that show people's faces and things are also successful. It's just, not my area of what I want to do. I also like, if I bit into something and it fell all over me, I would have ruined the food and my outfit. I would have been like, oh my gosh, I could have done that differently, bit it differently. Whereas I'm just filming the food. That's what I'm there to promote for that restaurant.
No, it makes sense. And it's cool for people to know, hey, listen, if you want to create content, but you're shy or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be about you. It can be about the
Yeah.
food. And in a lot of cases, when I'm doing these reviews, the food isn't really there. And I'll start talking about it and they'll be like, we don't want to hear you. We don't want to see you. We want to see the food. Like we want to see what the food looks like. And
Right.
even myself, when I'm checking out content of different restaurants and places that I want to go try and eat, I get enamored by the food. It's like ASMR. You just kind of sit there at
Right.
night, mindless, staring at a grilled cheese being pulled
Yeah.
apart or something like that. I'm curious to know, what are some of the common misconceptions about what you do? Like, what do people think it's like versus what is reality?
Yeah, so I guess, there's definitely some stress involved with it. And I think people are like, it is, don't get me, it's great. It's good stress, honestly. But when people are like, oh, like you just get to go and eat and then, bring it home and stuff, which is, kind of like what you were saying, but everyone says it. And it is like, I love it. I wouldn't trade it, but there's also stress. Like you want to do right for the business. I think that's my
Mhm.
biggest thing. Like, I've been filming before and my hands are shaking because I'm nervous because I don't even there's really no I'm probably overreacting, but I want to get the best video or picture I possibly can to promote them. Because if the restaurant's giving me this food and whatever, if they're also giving compensation, I want to do right by them. Also, like when editing the video, say if I cut an egg and it didn't pop the right way, just like thinking, oh, are they going to be upset with the way this came out and
Right.
not see any results come from it? Which is, once the finished product is done, I crop things and edit them to make them look right. But just the biggest stress, I think, is making sure that the company is happy and actually seeing results, because I would never want to seem like I'm coming just for food and they get nothing out of it. It's definitely and also even when ordering food, I always make sure everything's okay with the restaurant. I never want to overstep, always, tipping wait staff and everything. So just, kind of making sure everyone's happy, I think, which is
Mhm.
something in terms of life that stresses me out, making sure everyone is happy. And it's not always possible, but that's probably the biggest stress involved with it.
So what is your strategy at this point? Are you filming strictly establishments that reach out to you? Are you just going into places that you like and then just reviewing them without them knowing? Is it a combination of the both? What is it?
So everything right now on my feed is all places that have invited me in. So it used to not be. It used to be, places I would just go in occasionally. So on my birthday, a couple times, it's been places that I just went for my birthday and decided to post. And I do go out to eat, not for the account also, but it's been taking off so much. I don't really even have time to post other restaurants because I like
Wow.
to give restaurants more than one post, especially if they're giving me a few different items. I want to do right by them. So, I might have 4 posts for a restaurant that needs to go up within a month. But if I went to 6 different restaurants in 2 weeks, it adds up time wise. So, right now, everything on that page, restaurants have reached out to me. And certain times, like now, I'm not reaching out to anyone because it's overwhelming. I've got so many, places reaching out to me, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, it's a great thing. I love going out to eat through the account, but it's in terms of posts, I haven't been reaching out. Really, everything's been places that have invited me in.
I guess two questions based off that I think would pop into most people's minds.
Mhm.
A, what do you do if the food is not good?
We're blessed to live on Long Island. It is very rare I have food that's not good, and that's honest. Everyone always asks, like, I have preferences, so I don't love seafood or salad. Like,
Mhm.
I guess stereotypical healthier options. So you don't see them a lot on my page. But that I don't dislike it. I eat everything. Even I go to sushi restaurants, and I always bring someone with me. So whether it's my cousin or my friend or my sister, and they'll eat it, but everyone knows about me. I don't waste food and I also try everything. There's really the only thing I might not eat is rabbit because I have a rabbit. That's literally the only thing. But I really,
It just doesn't
nothing.
seem right.
Yeah. And even it's funny because like people send me menus and say, "Oh, what should I get?" And I'll pick out seafood for them because I know they like seafood. And my
Mhm.
sister always said she loves seafood, and I'll say, "Oh, that salmon sounds like something you like. It has like a mango, like relish on top or like a crust." And she's like, "That's funny you would pick that." And I was like, "Well, I know your taste, So I'm very, and even food I don't like. So if I eat sushi but I don't love seafood, I can acknowledge it's really good food, even though I don't like it, which is, I guess, interesting. Like some people can't get around that. They're like, what do you mean you don't like it, but you think it's good? You know, I'm just not picky. So that's a great thing about this account too.
Yeah, I guess you could not be a fan of some type of food, but appreciate it for what it is.
Exactly. And I'll try it regardless. And whether I finish or not, maybe not. They're leftovers. I give it to someone else, but I'm very open to everything.
So I guess that kind of brings me to what is your favorite food, and then ultimately, what's your favorite part of what you do?
Yeah, so my favorite food, it's gonna be everyone who knows me is gonna know this answer, mac and cheese. Love mac and cheese, and it's a very, kind of, I guess, basic answer, maybe even for a food account. But it just and it goes so beyond. Some people think, oh, it's just a kid's food, but so many restaurants have, given mac and cheese or I've ordered, and it can be elevated or differentiated
Mhm.
so vastly, and it's fantastic actually just to see how many different ways you can prepare one, mac and cheese dish. But that's got to be my favorite, and just exploring it at different restaurants, just seeing different combinations that you can do and different ways to prepare it is incredible. And if that's like an over analyzation of that dish, so be it. But that's my favorite. And yeah, I guess my favorite part of running this account is experiencing all these restaurants and meeting so many people through them. Um, and just, being able to promote them and also do something that I love.
So, how do you go about, like, is there a special way or things that you do to go about promoting the page, or are you just going out and putting out the best content and putting these restaurants in the best light possible,
Mhm.
and the algorithm or people just find it and people like it so it does its thing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. In the beginning, when it started, I would occasionally go to other food account pages and see who liked their pictures and give them a follow.
Mhm.
So I would have my following was a lot larger than my followers. But over time, so I would just start unfollowing people who didn't follow back. I haven't done that in about, I would say, 4.5 years ish. Now it's just completely whoever follows me wants to follow me, that's cool. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But yeah, no, I don't really promote it other than in and of itself, or occasionally a verbal plug, telling people I run this account. And it's really crazy too, because I don't include myself, like my face really, so people don't know who it is. So I've had my neighbor send me recommendations on there and didn't know it was me. Or I've had people from high school message and say, I love your account. I'm like, oh, this is, Cindy from high school. And it's really cool. So it's a lot of word of mouth, but mostly it's really just self promoting. It's just been growing by itself.
So, what have been your biggest business challenges with growing the page, with getting started, and all that?
Yeah. Biggest challenges, I guess, developing kind of a system across the board for like what the deal is, because a lot of restaurants will be like, oh, so what is this about? They have questions like, we've never done this before, but we want to start advertising. So, kind of coming up with like a fair way across the spectrum to address different restaurants, because, you're not going to address, a Chick-fil-A in the same way that you might, a steakhouse or something. So, just kind of figuring that out. And I try and do it on like varying levels. So, or see, if they have a package that they work with. But I try and keep it very, if it's a small, business, I give them more, leeway and things like that. Just kind
Sure.
of compromising based on what the restaurant's interests are, but figuring out how to go about that. We're still being professional, not just saying, I don't know, whatever you want, but working with them and, connecting with different people.
Do some of the restaurants have a way of quantifying the effect of what your videos have done? Like, do you
Mhm.
put promo codes on these things? Do people get back to you and say, "Hey, listen, I had 35 people come in this week just based off your video"? I mean, I know it's a hard thing to quantify,
Mhm.
right? But have are certain companies better at doing that than others? Do you kind of help places understand exactly the value that you bring? How does that work?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time. Not many restaurants do. I've had definitely people in the past say mention this code or like that you saw this on Long Island Foodies, get 10% off or something. It's not really that often. A lot of restaurants like giveaways, and giveaways are a great way to get, promotion and engagement. I'm doing a promotion shoot, a giveaway shoot today and like posting next week. But they don't really get back to me that much. My sign that they're seeing these results is they invite me back all the time. So,
Got
like
it.
ITA has invited me back a bunch. Mesita, Ainsworth, they're all run by the same people,
Mhm.
but those
Yep.
locations always invite me. Numerous places say come back whenever you want, or message out to me. So that's kind of the way that I see it. Also, I'm sure they can see in the likes or in the views, especially because a lot of people don't necessarily like videos, but in seeing how many people view it, that's good feedback too. But Yeah, I would say, because I leave it up to the restaurant. If they want to put a code or something, it's all, I'm working with them, whatever they want to do, or a giveaway. But I usually won't, begin with that. I'll let them tell me if they're interested, or I'll ask and then see what they think.
So, what was your most successful video of all time, and what made that one special?
Yeah, there's a few. There's was one, it was from Burgerology. It was an ice cream
I
donut
love,
sandwich.
I love that place.
And yeah, I think it was a combination of everything in that video. It was like the music, the way I cut open the sandwich, just like the timing on everything was really good. And it was just a very cohesive and delicious looking dish. But the way we put together the video, really made it look really good. There's another one where like a burrito opening up. And I think it's just a lot of those like interactive ones where the person's or myself, depending who's, with me, who's working with the food. And when I pick songs, sometimes it just fits so well. And it's funny how that takes off because, music, I feel like is such a powerful, allure for people, and it really brings people in, and then it adds to that food, and everything kind of works together and enhances it.
So, last couple of questions.
Mhm.
One is, what are the goals going forward for the business? Like, how do you hope for this to evolve? Do you eventually? For some reason, I feel like you're an art teacher. Are you an art teacher?
No, I'm fourth grade teacher. I'm just in the
Okay.
art room now on my lunch. But for this to be, you know, something, to keep getting bigger and bigger and, potentially, the equivalent of a full-time career. Like I said, I'm a teacher by day. I love doing this. My kids know that I do this. They love hearing about it, all the places I go. But really, making it into something that could be, you know, enough to be a full-time career. That would be an amazing, it's a dream and something I would love to do one day. Or even to work for restaurants, like have a few restaurants that I'm promoting for and do that. So that would be really great because I love doing it.
So, if there's somebody out there, or there's people out there that kind of they want to take the plunge and just either as a side hustle or for fun or literally just go all in, what are some kind of tips or pointers or suggestions you have for people looking to do something similar to what you do?
Yeah. So, honestly, do it in your own way, your own creative way. How I started, like I said, it was first just pictures, then videos took off. Um, if you have a style, don't try to be someone else's style. So, a lot of people say, oh, well, now all the influencers are including their faces or their voices and things. And if that's just not your comfort level, don't do it. Do your own style. So, you'll see every food account has a different element to it that has its own niche group of followers. And a lot of times when I post food that I love, my followers love it. And it's funny because, I feel like almost my followers, I have like a connection with them a little bit because if they're following, they have similar taste interests as I do and different, you know, um, things that they're looking for in their restaurant experience. So if I gain this following, completely naturally over time, obviously I'm doing something right in my own style, and it's to each his own. If you don't like that style, you don't have to. So I just think everyone, stick to what your thing is. And those are the accounts that really take off, or the people who really take off in life, who do their own thing and don't try to be someone else or imitate someone else's account. Even mine, even by what I'm saying, don't be like, oh, now I'm only going to do food, not show my face, or just do music. If that's not your thing, you're going to have a following that likes whatever you're interested in.
Yeah, I think people just really need to experiment, and through
Mhm.
experimentation, you'll just find your own personal style
Yeah,
and what works, and then you just kind of double down on that. And I think just in general, you always people have to have fun with it, and you always have to be experimenting and trying new things because people's attention spans are very short. Nothing lasts forever. You have to be kind of innovating all the time in order to stay relevant and
right,
keep growing. I'm sure even in my own you know um, accounts or within real estate, I kind of hit points where like the account kind of plateaus for a while and I need to like change it up and do something else to kind of jump to the next level. I think
right.
people always have to be changing it up.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so final question. I love food. Again, my mother's 100% Sicilian. She cooked for me every single night growing up.
Mhm.
I love food more than anything. I love going out to eat. I go to the most torturous gym possible so that I can continue to do that. So I think what's probably on the minds of a lot of people is you seem to be very fit and in shape. How do you go out 3 to 6 nights a week eating Long Island's most delicious food and still stay in shape? What is your exercise
Yeah.
routine like? Or are you very just disciplined with, you know what? I'm not going to eat the entire bowl of mac and cheese, even though it looks delicious. I'm gonna be good.
All of the above. So I work out a lot of cardio,
Mhm.
and I do like an incline walk at like a not a crazy speed because they say that's really good for cardio. I'm also a teacher. I'm on my feet all day, so that helps a lot. Love walks over the summer. So like I said, I'm a teacher. During the year, I work at Dunkin' on my feet 8 hours. I love moving. Like I don't stop moving. So after work, now that it's nice, I'll go on like a 2 hour walk sometimes, not during the school year, usually during the summer, but bike rides, swimming. I used to swim all the time. So definitely an active person. Not that I love working out, but I like moving. So I'm always moving. And then also, um, moderation's hard because I eat a lot, but I got to say, I don't waste anything. So I will try to, think ahead like, okay, well, how much can I eat and then also save that I have enough for lunch tomorrow too, so that I don't overboard myself. So that kind of gives me it's a way to stop myself being like, okay, you're going to want this tomorrow. So let's stop at this point in the bowl, kind of make a mental divide. So both. But that it's, it takes a lot because this food is amazing. And a lot of times places come out with all these courses. I share with my family a lot too. So I usually only bring one other person to the account, but there's always leftovers. So my dad always says, he's like, I've saved so much money through this account, but for him too, and he's just getting leftovers. But it's nice. So everyone, even my friends, families, I'm like, bring things home. Like I just don't want to throw it out because these places are
Sure.
giving me all this. Very much so. I eat everything. Either me or whoever I'm with eats everything. It never was wasted ever. So
No, that's awesome. Well, listen, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for spending it with us. If there's any restaurants out there that are interested in working with you or people that, want to follow you and be inspired by what you do and possibly do something similar, how do they get in touch with you? What are all the platforms that you're on? How do they follow you?
yeah, so I'm on Instagram's the main one, also TikTok. So it's Long Island Foodies, yellow with red writing. That's the icon. But either just direct message me. That's my best way. I have an email too, but I think through the Instagram direct message is definitely the easiest way to get to me.
Love it. And obviously, if anybody has a house that they want to sell, I want to buy it. 516-777 sold. Cynthia, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. That's a wrap.
Thank you so much.